The stars were calm that night, a vast black canvas sprinkled with silver dots. On the surface of Earth, in the remote plains of Africa, a strange hum vibrated through the air. No one had heard it before, and no one knew what it meant. Animals were restless, running in circles, their eyes wide with fear. The wind carried a whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. High above, in orbit, the satellites picked up a signal, one that didn't match any known frequency. The scientists at the Space Observation Center stared at the screens, their faces pale. Dr. Lena Shaw, the youngest and most curious among them, leaned closer. "It's coming from Earth, but it's not natural," she said. Her voice trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it. Thousands of miles away, in a quiet village, people noticed strange lights dancing in the sky. Children pointed and laughed, thinking it was a festival of colors, but the elders felt a chill down their spines. Farmers reported their livestock disappearing overnight. At first, they thought wild animals were responsible, but nothing made sense. No tracks, no signs of struggle, nothing. Just silence where there should have been life. By morning, news reports began to spread. Mysterious vanishings in remote regions, they said. Animals, and maybe even people, gone without a trace. The world listened, curious and frightened. No one knew who, or what, was responsible. Deep underground, hidden in a secret military facility, a team of experts gathered. Commander Rourke, a tall man with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes, stood in front of a giant screen. On it, a map of the Earth pulsed with tiny red dots, spreading faster than anyone could explain. "Every species that fights Earth disappears," he said quietly, almost to himself. "Every single one." The room went silent. The words seemed impossible, but the data didn't lie. From the insects in the Amazon to the creatures in the deepest oceans, life was vanishing where it resisted some invisible force. Dr. Shaw, who had been called to consult, swallowed hard. "It's like the planet itself is defending itself," she whispered. Rourke didn't answer. He tapped the screen, zooming in on the latest incident. A small island in the Pacific had lost every living thing overnight. Birds, fish, even plants seemed to have evaporated. "If this continues," he said grimly, "humanity could be next. And no one is safe." Back on the surface, in a city far from the plains, people went about their lives, unaware of the invisible threat. Children played in parks, couples walked their dogs, and cars moved along busy streets. Yet, high above them, satellites tracked changes in the atmosphere, small shifts that could only mean one thing. The Earth was alive in ways no one had ever imagined, and it did not welcome resistance. On the plains where it had all started, a lone wolf watched the horizon. Its ears twitched as a shadow moved across the sky, faster than anything natural. The wolf growled, but before it could run, the ground beneath it seemed to vanish. One moment it stood there, the next, nothing. The humans were only beginning to understand. The Earth didn't fight like armies or weapons, it fought like a predator that knew every weakness, every fear. It was patient, silent, and deadly. The disappearances weren't random. They were warnings. Commander Rourke and Dr. Shaw worked through the night. They pieced together reports from all over the world. Deserts swallowing nomads, mountains claiming climbers, seas hiding entire fleets. And in every incident, the victims had resisted, fought, or tried to exploit the land. Those who lived in harmony, who respected its power, seemed untouched. Dr. Shaw shivered as she stared at the data. "It's not just a planet," she said. "It's alive. And it can think, somehow. It knows who fights it. And it never forgets." Outside, the wind picked up, carrying a strange scent, like ozone and metal. People felt uneasy, though they didn't know why. A low hum filled the air again, louder this time, vibrating through buildings, cars, and even deep into the Earth. It was a reminder. The planet was watching, listening, and deciding. And then, as dawn broke over the plains, the first human disappearance happened. A lone explorer, documenting strange soil formations, vanished without a trace. The ground where he had stood was untouched, yet he was gone. Not a scream, not a struggle, just gone. The world was waking up to a terrifying truth. Earth was not just a home. It was a living entity, and every species that challenged it paid the price. Humanity had always thought it was the strongest, the smartest, the top of the chain. But for the first time, people realized that the true predator was below their feet, above their heads and all around them. And it had just begun. The world was slowly waking to fear, though most people did not know why. Scientists, soldiers, and explorers worked in secret, trying to understand what was happening. Commander Rourke had called a meeting with the top minds of the world. In a large, dimly lit room, the maps glowed with red dots marking the latest disappearances. Dr. Shah studied them carefully. "It's learning," she said. "Every time a species fights it, it reacts faster the next time. It's almost intelligent." Rourke rubbed his chin. "We've faced aliens, viruses, natural disasters. But this? Nothing prepares you for a planet that decides who lives and dies." Meanwhile, on a small island in the Pacific, a research team set up sensors to study the recent vanishings. They wanted proof, evidence that could explain the mysterious events. The team was confident, thinking they could study the Earth safely from a distance. But Earth had other plans. The first night, the sensors went off. Strange vibrations moved through the soil, shaking the equipment. Birds circled above nervously, their cries sharp in the dark. The lead scientist, a man named Dr. Raoul, shook his head. "It's probably just a quake," he said. But even as he spoke, the ground beneath the sensors sank slightly, almost like the Earth was breathing. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air, like the world itself was exhaling. One of the team members, a young woman named Mira, shivered. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. Everyone stopped and listened. The sound grew louder, vibrating through their bones. Then, without warning, one of the team's instruments disappeared. Not broken, not moved, it simply vanished. Raoul reached for it, but his hand passed through empty air. Panic spread. Mira looked around and realized something terrifying. The island itself was alive, responding to them. Back in the command center, Rourke watched the satellite feeds. A red dot appeared over the island. "There," he said, pointing. "They've been detected. And the Earth doesn't forgive mistakes." The team tried to leave, but the island seemed to shift. Paths they had walked safely the day before now twisted, leading them back to the center of the sensors. Trees moved slightly, blocking exits. Even the waves on the shore seemed to push them back. Earth was not subtle, it was a predator, and they were inside its lair. Mira screamed as a small rock hovered in the air, then shot toward her. It missed, but it was a warning. The team scattered, trying to find shelter. Raoul shouted orders, but his voice was drowned by the hum and the rustling of leaves. Fear gripped them like a physical hand. In the command center, Dr. Shah analyzed the readings. "It's not random," she said. "It targets those who try to fight it or control it. The island is alive, and it's aware of their presence. It's testing them, maybe even judging them." The team on the island realized that tools and weapons were useless. Rocks, sticks, even their electronic devices, everything failed or disappeared. Earth itself became the weapon. Mira fell to her knees, crying, "Why us? Why are we being punished?" Rourke answered, though no one could hear him, "Because you forgot who rules this world. Not us. Not even science. Earth does." As the night grew darker, strange patterns appeared in the sand around the research base. They looked like symbols, carved not by human hands but by some invisible force. Every attempt to approach them failed. The team felt eyes on them, not human eyes, but something older, sharper, aware. Then the first human disappearance happened on the island. A team member named Yarek, who had been trying to flee, simply vanished. 1 second he was running, the next, gone. No scream, no trace. The others froze, realizing the legend was real. Earth did not just destroy animals, it claimed humans who fought it. Raoul yelled at the rest of the team to stay together. "We leave as one. We don't fight. We don't resist. He didn't know if it would help, but they had no choice. The island seemed to respond immediately. Paths opened, gentle slopes appeared, and the oppressive force receded slightly. Earth was testing them, watching their behavior. Dr. Shaw and Rourke observed silently. It's almost teaching them, Shaw said. Those who respect it may survive. Those who challenge it, vanish. The team huddled together, eyes wide, realizing that survival meant obedience. The Earth was alive, smart, and unforgiving. It did not just punish, it taught lessons, with deadly consequences. And somewhere deep in the soil, unseen by all, the Earth waited, patient and eternal, ready to strike at anyone foolish enough to challenge it again. The world held its breath. News of the island incident leaked through secret channels. Governments, scientists, and military leaders were shocked. People had vanished without a trace, and no one could explain why. Commander Rourke called another emergency meeting. The room was tense, filled with silence and worried faces. Dr. Shaw stood at the front, pointing at the latest data. Every incident has a pattern, she said. The Earth responds when life resists it. It doesn't attack randomly. It's judging, testing, even punishing. Rourke nodded slowly. Then we need to understand it before more people disappear. We can't fight it with weapons. That's clear. We need to observe, study, and respect it. Meanwhile, the team on the island was exhausted. They had survived the first night by keeping calm, following the Earth's invisible rules. They moved slowly, carefully, avoiding sudden movements or loud noises. Even their thoughts seemed too loud. It was as if the planet could hear fear. Mira noticed a strange pattern in the sand. Small lines and circles that repeated, almost like a language. She bent down to trace it with her finger. The moment she touched it, a faint vibration ran through the ground. The team jumped back. It was alive. Every step, every touch mattered. Raoul whispered, "It's trying to communicate. I think it wants something." Back in the command center, Dr. Shaw analyzed satellite images. In forests, deserts, mountains, and oceans, similar patterns appeared. Symbols etched into the Earth, shifting subtly over time. The Earth wasn't just alive, it was intelligent, capable of creating signs, and maybe even messages. Rourke leaned closer. We've always believed humans are the smartest. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe Earth has been alive all along, silently shaping the world, guiding life, and now it's awake in a way we never understood. On the island, the team decided to experiment carefully. They moved slowly toward a series of symbols etched into the ground. The soil seemed softer, warmer, almost welcoming. Mira knelt and touched one carefully. The ground pulsed gently, and for a brief moment, the hum stopped. It was as if the Earth was listening. A small voice in her mind, or was it the wind, whispered, "Respect, observe, survive." The team froze. They hadn't spoken aloud, yet the message was clear. Earth wasn't hostile to life that understood it. It was hostile to those who ignored it, who fought it without thought. Rourke watched the readings. "It's teaching them," he said. "The island team is learning, but the lesson is dangerous. One wrong move, and they vanish." Night fell again. The team camped in a clearing, carefully following the patterns on the ground. Every movement was deliberate. Even breathing seemed measured. They realized that the Earth's intelligence was patient, waiting for mistakes. Suddenly, the wind shifted. The hum returned, louder this time, vibrating through their bones. Trees bent slightly as if watching. A rock hovered in the air for a moment, then gently rolled away. It was a warning, not an attack. Mira whispered, "We have to understand it, not fear it. Fighting will only make it angry." Raoul nodded. "Then we observe. We learn. We respect. That's the only way we survive." Back in the command center, Dr. Shaw felt a chill. "What happens if humanity doesn't learn?" she asked softly. Rourke didn't answer immediately. He stared at the map of Earth, red dots still appearing slowly but surely. "Then we vanish," he said finally. "Every species that fights Earth disappears. And maybe we're next." The night on the island was quiet, almost peaceful, but tension never left. The team knew the Earth was aware of every movement, every thought. Survival depended on patience, respect, and understanding. Somewhere deep beneath the surface, unseen by anyone, the planet pulsed with awareness. It waited, not in anger, but with judgment. Those who adapted, who respected its power, could live. Those who challenged it would vanish, leaving no trace. The team huddled together, silent and careful. For the first time, they understood something important. Humanity was not the master of Earth. It had always been alive, always aware, and now, it had begun to show its power. And the world outside remained unaware, going about its busy life, not knowing that the planet beneath them was alive, patient, and judging. The world was still unaware of the full danger. News reports mentioned missing people and strange occurrences, but no one understood the scope. In secret, the island team had begun to study the patterns the Earth left, carefully documenting everything. Raoul and Mira realized that patience alone was not enough. If they were to survive, they needed to understand why the Earth reacted. Slowly, they started experimenting. They moved rocks to mimic the patterns, touched the soil gently, and even spoke softly to the plants and trees. Every action was deliberate. At first, nothing happened. The hum in the air remained, low and watchful. But then, a tree branch bent slightly, pointing toward a series of symbols etched in the sand. The team froze. The Earth was responding. It wasn't just alive, it was guiding them. Back in the command center, Dr. Shaw and Commander Rourke monitored satellite feeds. "It's changing the environment to teach them," Shaw said. "Look at the formations. They're creating paths, signs, even warnings. The planet isn't attacking blindly. It's selective, patient, intelligent." Rourke nodded. "It tests them, judges them, and decides who can survive. But what happens if they misunderstand? One mistake could be fatal." Night fell, and the team faced their first true challenge. A sudden storm appeared, dark clouds swirling unnaturally, lightning striking without warning. The wind howled like a living thing, pushing them toward the symbols they had been studying. Every step felt guided, yet threatening. Mira whispered, "It's forcing us to follow. We have to trust it." The team obeyed, moving slowly along the path the Earth seemed to create. Rocks shifted, trees bent, even small pools of water formed stepping points. It was as if the Earth was testing their awareness, watching for fear, hesitation, or disobedience. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the clearing. Not human, not animal, something large and unseen. Raoul froze. Mira felt a chill. The hum in the air rose to a deafening level. And then, the shadow vanished, leaving nothing but a faint imprint on the ground. The team realized that the Earth's power was not just around them, it could appear, disappear, and strike invisibly. Back in the command center, Shaw watched in horror as the island's satellite feed registered a small red. A near disappearance, quickly reversed. "It almost claimed them," she said. "Earth isn't cruel, it's precise. It only punishes mistakes, but it can test endlessly." The team pressed forward, finally reaching a large clearing where the soil seemed to glow faintly. Symbols formed an intricate spiral, pulsing gently under their feet. Mira knelt carefully, tracing one with her finger. A sudden warmth spread through her hand, traveling up her arm. The hum softened, almost like a sigh. "It's communicating," she whispered. "It's not just testing us. It's teaching us something." Raoul nodded. "We have to understand its rules. Survival depends on it." Meanwhile, back on the mainland, Rourke made a grave decision. If Earth can communicate, maybe it can be studied safely. We need to learn its language, understand its intentions. Humanity cannot fight it. But maybe, we can survive alongside it. The team on the island spent the night observing, listening, and moving with the Earth's subtle guidance. They realized that patience, respect, and awareness were more powerful than any tool or weapon. The planet wasn't their enemy, it was their teacher. But even as they adapted, the hum persisted. The Earth was patient, but it was also vigilant. One careless step, one moment of arrogance, and it would strike again. The lesson was clear: humans were not masters of the planet. They were students, and the planet had all the power. As dawn broke, the team looked around, exhausted but alive. They had survived the first full test. Yet, deep beneath their feet, the Earth pulsed, aware and watching, ready for the next challenge. And somewhere, beyond the island, humanity continued unaware, going about life as if the planet beneath them was just dirt and rock. Not a living, breathing force capable of judgment, punishment, and, perhaps, even mercy. The team had learned the first lesson: patience and respect kept them alive. But knowledge alone was not enough. They needed answers. Why was the Earth targeting those who fought it? How far did its awareness reach? And most importantly, could humans survive if they truly understood it? Raoul gathered the team in a small clearing. "We have to try something risky," he said. "We can't just follow its signs. We need to communicate. We need to show that we mean no harm, that we respect it." Mira frowned. "How do you communicate with a planet? It's alive, but not human. It doesn't speak. It doesn't move like us. How can we be sure it will understand?" Raoul looked at her seriously. "We can't. But we can try. We've seen patterns, symbols, responses to our actions. If we act carefully, with respect, maybe it will respond." The team spent the next hours preparing. They traced new symbols in the soil, mimicking the ones they had seen. They avoided sudden movements, loud noises, or even raised voices. Every gesture was deliberate, every action thoughtful. As dusk fell, the hum returned, low and watchful. The Earth seemed to sense their intent. Rocks shifted slightly, trees bent, and the soil pulsed beneath their feet. It was waiting. Raoul knelt in the center of the spiral, extending his hands toward the glowing soil. "We are not enemies," he said softly. "We respect you. We do not fight. We want to understand. Please, show us your will." The ground trembled, gently at first, then more strongly. A faint blue light spread from the center of the spiral, illuminating the team's faces. The hum rose, almost like a voice singing through the soil and air. Myra's heart raced. "It's listening," she whispered. Then, the first clear response came. Small patterns appeared in the soil, shifting like living writing. The team watched, amazed. The Earth was answering. It was showing them something beyond human understanding. Back in the command center, Dr. Shaw monitored the island remotely. "Look at the readings," she said. "The Earth is interacting with them directly. It's responding to intention, not words or tools. This is unprecedented." The island team realized that every movement mattered. The Earth tested their patience, their respect, and their focus. One wrong move could end everything. They moved carefully, tracing the patterns, following the pulses of light, and the hum softened with each correct gesture. Hours passed. By midnight, the Earth's message became clearer. Symbols arranged themselves into paths, pointing toward the highest point of the island, a rocky peak overlooking the ocean. Raoul understood instinctively. They were being guided, given a choice to ascend, to witness something the Earth wanted them to see. The climb was slow and careful. Every step was deliberate, guided by subtle shifts in the terrain. Trees bent aside, rocks moved to form safe paths, and the wind seemed to push them gently forward. For the first time, the team felt a connection with the planet, a strange harmony. When they reached the peak, they saw it, a faint glow spreading across the horizon. The Earth had revealed something extraordinary, a massive, hidden network of energy flowing beneath the island, pulsing like veins in a living creature. It was beautiful, terrifying, and beyond comprehension. Mira gasped. "It's alive, not just above the ground, but below too. The whole planet, it breathes." Raoul nodded, awestruck. And it's judging us. Every action, every thought, every intention. We are learning its rules. Back in the command center, Rourke and Shaw watched silently. This is the moment humanity must understand, Rourke said. The planet is alive. It tests, it teaches, it punishes, but it also gives a chance to learn. Survival isn't about power, it's about respect. The team spent the night observing the glowing network, documenting, and trying to interpret the Earth's patterns. They realized one truth: this planet was not their enemy. It was their teacher, their judge, and their protector. And somewhere across the globe, the Earth pulsed silently, patient and eternal, waiting for the rest of humanity to learn the lesson before it acted again. The night on the peak was quiet, but the team could feel the Earth's presence all around them. The glowing network beneath their feet pulsed rhythmically, as if the planet itself were alive and breathing. Raoul, Mira, and the others understood that every action mattered. One wrong step could erase them. Raoul took a deep breath. We've learned much, but we need to test ourselves. We must see if we can act without fear, without arrogance. Only then will we truly understand the Earth's will. Mira glanced nervously at the glowing patterns. And what if we fail? Raoul's jaw tightened. Then the Earth will teach us. The hard way. They began tracing new symbols in the soil, following the glowing network as carefully as possible. Each movement was slow, deliberate, respectful. At first, the Earth responded gently, small pulses of light and soft vibrations. The team felt a strange connection, like they were part of something much larger than themselves. But then, Yarrick, the youngest member, grew impatient. "This is too slow," he muttered. "We need answers now, not a puzzle." He reached out and rearranged one of the symbols carelessly. The moment his fingers touched the soil, the hum grew loud and sharp, vibrating through their bones. Rocks shook, and a sudden gust of wind pushed Yarrick backward. He barely kept his footing. Mira screamed, grabbing his arm. "Stop. You can't just act like that." Raoul stepped forward, hands raised, trying to calm the situation. But the Earth's judgment had already begun. The glowing patterns shifted violently, warning them. Yarrick froze in fear as a small area of soil beneath him trembled and sank slightly, almost swallowing him. "Do not act out of fear, anger, or impatience." A voice, or was it the wind, whispered through the hum. "Respect, patience, awareness." Yarrick knelt, trembling. The team held their breath, waiting for the planet's response. Slowly, the tremor subsided, and the glowing network softened. The Earth had punished, but not destroyed. It had given a warning, a chance to learn. Raoul exhaled. "This is what we're up against," he said quietly. "The Earth tests us, punishes mistakes, but also teaches. We survive only if we truly understand and respect it." The team continued their study cautiously. They realized that the Earth's lessons were not simple. They were about awareness, humility, and understanding their place in the world. Every pulse of light, every vibration, every shift in the soil was a message. Hours passed, and slowly, they began to interpret the glowing network. Patterns formed sequences, almost like a language, guiding them to resources, safe paths, and even areas of incredible natural beauty. It was a silent gift, a reward for patience and respect. Back at the command center, Dr. Shaw watched the satellite images. "They're learning," she said. "The Earth is teaching them, but it's testing every step. One wrong choice could be fatal. Humanity hasn't faced anything like this before." Raoul looked over the peak, at the glowing network beneath their feet and the vast horizon ahead. "This is bigger than any army, any weapon, any plan. We are students of the planet now. And if we fail, we vanish." Night gave way to dawn, and the island team had survived their first real test. But the lesson was clear: survival depended not on courage alone, but on understanding, humility, and patience. They had seen the power of the Earth firsthand, and they knew that the challenges ahead would only grow more intense. Somewhere, deep beneath the island, the Earth pulsed silently, patient, eternal, and vigilant. It had given a warning, and humanity had survived, for now. But the planet's judgment was ongoing, and every species that fought it would eventually learn the cost of arrogance. The team stood together, exhausted but wiser. The Earth had tested them, and they had passed, just barely. But the greatest lessons were still ahead. The island team had survived many tests, but they knew the ultimate challenge was still ahead. The Earth had guided, warned, and taught them, but it had not yet revealed its full power. The glowing network beneath the island pulsed stronger than ever, a living heartbeat of the planet itself. Raoul stood at the edge of the peak, looking down at the spiraling patterns. "This is it," he said. "If we fail now, it's over. But if we succeed, we prove that humanity can live in harmony with the planet." Mira nodded, determination in her eyes. "We've learned its rules. Patience, respect, awareness. We cannot act recklessly. We must move as one." The team descended carefully along the spiraling paths. The hum in the air was louder than ever, vibrating through their bones. Trees bent as they passed, rocks shifted to create safe steps, and the soil pulsed beneath their feet in a rhythm that matched their careful movements. The Earth was testing them, one final time. At the center of the network, a massive stone formation rose, glowing faintly. Symbols etched in the rock shifted, forming a pattern none of them had seen before. Raoul understood instinctively. This was the final test. The team gathered, hands joined, moving together in deliberate motions to mimic the patterns. The hum grew into a roar, shaking the ground. Wind howled around them, but the team stayed focused, following the Earth's instructions silently. One wrong movement could erase them. Suddenly, a small fissure opened in the stone, revealing a pool of glowing liquid beneath. Mira stepped forward, her heart pounding. The Earth was inviting them to touch it, to prove trust. Raoul hesitated, then nodded. "We go together. Trust and respect. That's the only way." The team lowered their hands, hovering just above the pool. Slowly, they touched it. The ground trembled, then pulsed gently, as if approving their action. Light spread from the pool, running through the glowing network, touching every symbol, every path, every corner of the island. The hum softened into a melodic tone, warm and welcoming. The Earth was acknowledging their respect, their patience, and their unity. They had passed the final test. Back at the command center, Dr. Shaw watched the satellite images with awe. "It's incredible. The planet is alive, intelligent, and now it's responding to humanity in a way we never imagined. It's teaching, yes, but it's also forgiving those who learn." On the island, the team stood together, exhausted but triumphant. The Earth had not destroyed them. Instead, it had revealed its greatest secret. It was not just a force to fear, but a life to respect, a teacher to listen to, and a guardian of all species. Raoul looked at Mira. "We've seen it. We've learned. And now, humanity has a chance. But the lesson is clear. Arrogance, greed, and violence against the planet will not be tolerated. Respect it, and we survive. Challenge it, and we vanish." The sun rose over the horizon, illuminating the glowing network, now calm and serene. Birds flew overhead, animals returned, and the hum faded into a gentle vibration, a reminder that the planet was alive and always watching. The team knew their journey was only the beginning. They had survived the Earth's tests, but the world beyond the island was still unaware. Humanity had been given a chance to learn humility, patience, and respect for the living planet beneath their feet. And somewhere deep inside the Earth, its heartbeat continued, eternal, vigilant, and wise. Every species that fought it had vanished. But those who learned its lessons could thrive, for the planet was not a mindless force. It was alive, aware, and always ready to judge, with power beyond imagination. The Earth had spoken. Humanity had listened. And for the first time, the world understood its true place, not as master, but as a student of the living planet.